presentation that is on the release of the new version of the inventory software for greenhouse gas inventories. So my name is Eduardo Calvo, co-chair of the Task Force on Inventories, together with my colleague Kyoto Tanabe. And we will start this event with the welcoming words by the Secretary of the IPCC, Abdallah Moxit. Abdallah, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, dear Eduardo. But to be frank with you, he told me, please be short. And this is, he asked me from the, but to follow his advice, I doubled my statement by 2. Now, yeah, thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Kyoto. Thank you, dear Sandro. And I can confess, give you, something. I will confess that we have with us Dominic from IPCC. But I am calling him the $1 million man because he's the one who provided $1 million to IPCC to have this software. So, and next to him, Martial from FAO. But I have no million for him, either million trees, something like this. So, but I will not be short, really, because now I hope many of you were aware about the presentation we did have already in the past, and I wish that you can have the opportunity to see something which is really excellent, because this is a sort of legacy of TFI. TFI started by preparing a sort of software to provide the tool to all parties under IPCC to measure greenhouse gases in standard way. I will not be also long because I think all this cannot be there if you have not an excellent team. You cannot have a good collaboration with IPCC, and you don't have a sort of generous host country. That's, from the beginning was really supporting all this initiative. And to be frank with you also, I am short, I'm running. So to be frank with you, it is the work of TFI, and also all this process is a sort of success story that demonstrates that when we gather all the key of success of any initiative, any project, we can have a result. Now, what is the deliverable now? Deliverable now, if you have a software which is up to date, it is user friendly, and which guarantee to have sustainability of this software. It is not, you cannot start it today and you will have problem next year. No, it will be something sustained and with good, professional and professional approach. So this is what I want to say, and I think nothing has to be happen if we don't have an excellent team, excellent leadership, and excellent TFI bureau member, and excellent collaboration. And we are, to be frank with you, as in my capacity as secretary, I am really proud to work with you, and I am really proud to use the relationship with IPCC as excellence, a sort of success story, and also we have a good relationship with FAO. Once again, thank you very much, and I'm also happy to make you happy, Eduardo. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdallah. Yes, because we have a very large afternoon, so it's much appreciated that you kept your comments briefly. Now we have Dominique Revet from the UNFCCC, as Abdallah called him, the $1 million man.
Thank you, Eduardo, and thank you, Abdallah. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yes, I'm Dominique Revet. I'm the team leader of the GAG support from the Transparency Division of the Secretariat. It's really a real pleasure to be here with you today, and colleagues and friends with whom we have collaborated and worked together for many years already. And so I really want to acknowledge this good relationship, and which allowed us to deliver this week with you this fantastic milestone for the ETF of the European countries. It's really important. It's actually a project that's initiated in 2019. So you see, it's 3.5 years of hard work. So we need to really acknowledge that, and the delivery by the IPCC, because this is very important for developing countries in particular, the ones that we support in this process. So, like you said earlier, from our side in this project is entirely funded from the generous support from the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA. So I think we need to really acknowledge that here today and take this opportunity to thank them for their generous support, and also the project, which has also generated significant in-kind and also co-financing from other organizations, including FAO, which is worth acknowledging today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominic, and we will have also the word from Marcial from FAO, who was already introduced by Abdal.
So it's always thanks for the invitation. It's always a great pleasure for FAO to be with so many friends, not just colleagues, also friends, with Abdallah since so long, the TFI that is all here, with the technical support unit, UNFCCC, Dominic, where we have a lot of collaboration. And I fully agree with you, Abdallah. Without collaboration alone, we cannot progress, and this is really only based on all the collaboration we have that we can progress, because we have direct contact with countries, you have other contact, and basically this is putting all this together that we can manage. So I will stop here. I guess I will have a presentation later. I will be back. So thanks for all of you, and thanks for all the public to be here. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Sandro.
So the first presentation is mine. It's a general presentation on the software. Since we discussed, we know now that the $1 million man is here. Let me also acknowledge the other contribution. United States Environmental Protection Agency has been contributing significantly to the software development. The IPCC Trust Fund every year contributes to the IPCC software development. And the government of Japan, which is the main contributor because pay our salaries, and these 3 years has been a huge amount of money put in the software development. So my presentation is going to touch very shortly the software itself, the new version that we released actually last week in a similar event, and then what is the current support that TFI, TSU, which is us, we are 3 here, well, we are 5 because we have also the technical support for the software. This is the software. The software is a very simple graphic. Usually you have a worksheet at the center, which is where you input the data, you have the calculation. There is a series of functionalities in tabs just on bottom. And on the left you have all the IPCC categories of the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory. By selecting the category there, you open the relevant worksheets. The software is free to use. The software functionalities are the following one. There are some administration functionalities. There is the core business, that is the worksheets where the calculation, where the estimates of greenhouse gases are actually made. And then there are a number of other elements. We have the QA/QC elements, which is the uncertainty analysis, the key category analysis, the reference method for the energy sector. We have functionality to export and import the data. At the moment, this is limited to a single year only. So this is an area where future and hopefully very soon improvement will be implemented to have the entire time series exported and imported. As a functionality of data archive, this is very important. This is important also for developed countries because almost all inventories are a compilation of a number of worksheets, documents, and so on. Using our software, you have a single database where everything is stored. It's a Microsoft Access database, so it's fully based on Microsoft, our software. I also use Microsoft Net Framework for the connection between the various fields, of the various elements. It contains all IPCC default emission factor parameters that can be selected in drop-down menus. It has some data manager. There is the fuel manager, the land, which is for the energy sector, is used also very limitedly in the IPU sector. And then there are three managers for the AFOLU sector, the land representation, land use, and livestock. This is because at the end, the most data-intensive sector is the land sector. You will see also in the sectoral presentation. The current version implements all tiers and all approaches that are in the IPCC guidelines and its Wetlands Supplement. They are all there. It allows to input, of course, then emission user-specific emission factors and parameters. You may select the IPCC, but you may otherwise input your own. Allows subnational level reporting, which means that federal countries may aggregate state inventories, or you may track specific activities or projects into the inventory. For instance, for nationally determined contributions. It can be used for the entire inventory or for single categories. Of course, the goal, we produce this for the entire inventory, not just for some categories, but can be used also for some categories or sectors only. It allows different sectors to be implemented at the same time, because we will see it's possible to apportion the database to single users. So one user will be allowed to input data only in one sector or in one categories of the sector, and others in other categories. And it allowed to work remotely. You may work either on your computer, so resident the database on your computer, or just having the database in the cloud, the people connecting to it. And it allows different tier worksheets to be used altogether within a category. Again, if you are a federal state, some states may report at tier 1, some other tier 2, or if you have a specific activity that you want to report as a national mitigation action, you may require a higher tier just for that activity, and you may then combine together with the rest of the inventory. This is the current work ongoing. This is this is really ongoing now, because there is also a plan for further work, but we will see at the end. Implementing, of course, the AR5 global warming potential, including the indirect CO2 emissions and also the indirect N2 emissions, those that are memo item. And the biggest part of this work is the interoperability with the UNFCCC. So to have the software capable, there will be a dedicated presentation to export data that can be immediately uploaded by UNFCCC in its reporting tool. We are also working on notation keys, on time series export-import, as I said, to allow to import the entire inventory at once, not year by year. And some supporting tools. On supporting tools, there will be the presentation also on Martial from FAO. So I'm very short. We are working on some Excel-based tool for harvested wood product and the land representation, in order to allow to upload all the data at once. We are working to have a guidebook sector by sector. The software, the new version of the software is much more complex than the previous one. So to support the user in using all the tiers, all the different approaches within tiers, of the software, we found that is fundamental to provide this guidebook that is a kind of a instruction, step-by-step instruction for the use. And then there are two add-ons on the land presentation that I skip because Marciale will be presenting on those. Future work, which means not for 2023, but in the future, is uncertainty analysis and key category analysis to implement approach 2, to have a multiple user even at category level and not just at the level of sectors, and to have an interconnection with the emission factor database. How to download the new version? The new version comes in two alternative versions, 64-bit and 32-bit. Before downloading, in our website there is the possibility to download this decision tree. According with this, you select which of the version you need to download, because otherwise they won't work well in your computer. And this is the website. This is a screenshot of the website with the new version. You see there are the two versions of the software. Be aware that we are working, so you may expect every 2 months we will release a new version that will be uploaded in this website. Please download it, use it. Be aware that you may already start to implement your inventory on this one, because the following version will be compatible, so the data input here will not be lost. The software automatically upgrade the database to the new version. And if you find any bugs, please send an email to us, we will correct. This is the final slide. We support the use of the software through a user manual, help desk at that email. We have a pool of voluntary testers. If anyone want to test, please send an email to that address. We will be happy to add you in this pool. We cooperate with Dominique in a training workshop that UNFCCC is organizing regional workshops. And annually we also do a meeting of experts using the software to collect the feedback. This year we will focus on testing IPU waste sector and maybe the interoperability, depending on the level of. And this is possibly to be organized in Bonn together with the UNFCCC Secretary. Anyhow, this is all the current situation. You know, IPCC works in cycles. Next year there will be the election of the new cycle, so the new bureau may decide to amend the current activities according with the resources available also. I'm always here, so at the end.
Just to note, all the presentation files can be downloaded from IPCC TFI website, so I think you don't have to take photos. Don't worry.
You may download it. Yeah, the next is energy. Now the energy sector presentation, yes. Oops. So, the presentation, I'm not going to present the energy sector. Also, only those major updates according with the version that was released in 2020, which has been used in the last 2 years. So the very important element is this subnational disaggregation, the fuel manager that should help in data input in particular, the new methods, so the higher tier methods that have been implemented, and then the improvement in the structure of the worksheet of the software. Subnational disaggregation for the energy sector means that in each worksheet you have a first column that deals with subdivision. You may use it to, according with your disaggregation, could be administrative boundaries, could be economic, could be companies, it could be cities, it could be whatever. Technologies may also be used for technology, may be used to accommodate any stratification. And also multiple stratification you may input there. More complex the inventory, but possible. So that column almost gives you all the flexibility to input here higher tier levels for the inventory. The fuel manager contains the main parameters of fuels, like the fuel type, the calorific value, and the carbon content. These information are automatically transferred to the worksheets where the calculation for the energy sector are done. It allows to input user-defined fuels with no limits. And as I said, all this information is transferred to the worksheet where the calculation occurs. This is the fuel manager, a screenshot. You have the IPCC default fuels, and also the IPCC default parameters for those fuels. But you may overwrite any of those. And of course, here you see I selected the net calorific value. If you go for gross calorific value, you need to input all the data because IPCC provides default only for the net. But it's possible to use also gross calorific values. Higher tiers, the most important is stationary combustion, the disaggregation by technology type and by the penetration rate of each technology. For mobile combustion, the disaggregation by vehicle, equipment type, operating condition or road types, and the emission control technology. For fugitive emission, for coal, there is the disaggregation according with the coal rank and the emission rate before the abandonment of the mine. And for oil, you have a further disaggregation of venting and flaring according with the type of gas, vented and flared, and the quantity and its composition. The improvements in washes structure and layout. In general, the approach has been done to accommodate more tiers in the same washes. I will show you an example. Where this was not possible, you have different washes for different tiers. In total, you have for the energy sector 166 washes in this current version. That doesn't mean that to do an inventory you need to fill all 166 washes. It means that we have a large variability of washes that you may use according with your national circumstances. So this means that the software is very flexible. Stationary combustion. This is an example where in two worksheets you see fuel consumption data, fuel combustion emissions. The three tier levels have been compiled. So you have you indicate, the first element of flexibility is that you decide which is the unit of your activity data to be input. Then you have, here you input, this is already the estimate as resulting, but opening that small symbol there on the left, you see all the data that has been input. And then you see, for instance, here the disaggregation by technology type, and including the penetration rate, which is there. Of course, the total should be 100. For road transportation, those was not possible. So you have a fuel consumption data that works for all the tiers, but then you have fuel combustion emission for CO2 for all the tiers in a single worksheet. But for, I need to go faster. Yes, for tier 3, you have a dedicated table to estimate CH4 and 2 emission, because the technology has an impact on estimating the CH4 and 2 emission. For IPCC, the CO2 emissions are based on the assumption that all carbon is oxidized to CO2. So, doesn't matter the tier, the assumption is the same. Of course, country-specific method may have a different rate of oxidation, and then this means that the CO2 emission factor input by the country will take into consideration this. Okay, then we have also this additional worksheet here that is to validate the fuel consumption, to be sure that at the end all fuel consumed has been input into the estimates, just for verification. Now this is the mapping of the software. You see, for each of the worksheet, you know, for each of the, of the categories and subcategories, you know how many worksheets are available to estimate. The emissions removal, according which of the IPCC tier equation those worksheets may work. For stationary combustion, this one, you see, with 2 worksheets, you accommodate the three tiers of IPCC. This is transport, and you see the situation became more complicated. There is a legend at the end, and I'm not going to explain in detail because we don't have time. Okay, then there are fugitives, and then you have the carbon capture and storage. This is the reference approach. This is the total. You see, in total, you have 166 worksheets to accommodate the reporting of energy. This is the, so in summary, all methods has been implemented in the IPCC software. And this should allow the flexibility needed to accommodate all national circumstances. Sub-national disaggregation is a very important element, again, of flexibility. The guidebook of the energy sector is already ready in its first draft. We are going to do a further revision, then will be published on our website. Also, the guidebook, you may expect that at any iteration of the software, also the guidebook will be updated. But we will be very happy to receive also feedback on the guidebook, so to know if the guidebook is really helpful or not. And this is for the energy. The next.
You can see that I don't. Okay, so hello to everybody. My name is Pavel Shermanov. I'm Program Officer of IPCC T5 TSU, and I will present updates of the sector Industrial Processes and Product Use, IPPU. So there are some elements of repetition with energy sector. So in IPPU we implemented higher tiers, and these higher tiers means that more disaggregated data is needed, technology-specific emission factors, plant-specific data, and so on. But the users may use a mix of tiers within the same category. Also, as Sandra mentioned, we introduced subdivisions across all sectors, and for IPPU, we can even enter facility-level data. Facility by facility can be entered into the software, or if we don't have facilities, just a national level, as a total may be entered. So, and for IPPU, and this sector is famous for various categories, technologies, production processes, materials. So there are various scenes and also country-specific scenes. So we try to implement and accommodate this variability in the software. Well, if we're looking at the example of a worksheet, so this is particular for IPPU sector, we can see subdivisions. It could be a prefecture, a city, or a facility level. Then we can select a tier or worksheet menu as a tier 1 or tier 2 or some supplementary worksheets. Then we can define the technologies that are used at particular facility or at the country level. These technologies can be default that are from the guidelines, from 2006 IPCC guidelines, and the drop-down menu already embedded in the software, or users can manually input any technology which are currently used in the country. And the same applies for selection of parameters. For example, 5 kilotons per ton or something. This can be manually overwritten or use default from the guidelines. So this is very simple and user-friendly worksheet which allows flexibility of the country. Then I will talk about worksheets, and there are a long list of categories for IPPU. So in total we have 251 worksheets, but as Sandra mentioned, we don't need to enter all of them. So only some of them can be entered by country, and it would be sufficient. But to implement this all diversity, that's why we have so many worksheets. So let me speak maybe about some particular categories to give understanding of updates in the software. So for example, cement production, which can be a key category for many countries. At tier 1 level, we need 2 worksheets, and we need to enter cement activity data and export-import operation and default emission factor to estimate emissions. Tier 2, it's also rather basic. We need the clinker activity data, not cement activity data. And also, we need adjustment factor for cement kiln dust to estimate emissions. And at tier 3, we need 4 worksheets to accommodate plant-specific data, activity emission factors, and they are based on carbonates. So that's kind of different approaches in the worksheet for cement industry, and country use flexibility. What do they want to use? Tier 1, 2, and 3, depending on the data flexibility and any national circumstances. In chemical industry, less worksheets is needed to cover tier 1 or tier 3, but in chemical industry at level of tier 3, IPCC guidelines do not provide any method, but welcome countries to use measurements from specific emissions and incorporate these estimates in the national total. But please, don't start from tier 3, start from tier 1 and then go to tier 2 and tier 3 then. In a petrochemical industry's continuation, similar method is used for all petrochemicals like methanol, ethylene and so on, and various worksheets used for different purposes. For example, tier 1 is an emission factor approach. So worksheet designed to input emission factors. And tier 2, it's a mass balance approach, so we need to enter many scenes for mass balance approach to estimate CO2 emissions. Fluorochemicals, there is many tiers at tier 3 level. There are direct method, proxy method, monitoring method. So again, we try to implement all methods at each and every category. Metal industry is also could be a key category for many countries. And in iron and steel industry, it's important to remember that coke production and emissions from coke production should be reported in energy sector. So sometimes energy people don't know about this, and IPPU don't care about this, so it's somewhere in between. So it's here. We estimate in the under IPPU, but emissions go to the energy sector. So we have this design in metal industry. Non-energy products, and it's a relatively minor category, and the electronics industry is present as just in a few countries in the world. I will not talk about this. And refrigeration and air conditioning in the category under product use of substitutes for ozone depleting substances. It's among all the countries. So basic tier 1 method implemented a spreadsheet which was a part of the 2006 IPCC guidelines, and it was in the initial software that we started from the very beginning, and then we implemented tier 2, which have 2 methods, either again mass balance or emission factor approach, and tier 2 implements these methods in the software with different level of disaggregation by sub-application. So you can further disaggregate refrigeration or air conditioning either by domestic or commercial and so on. 2G category, various sources of emissions here: manufacturing of electrical equipment, accelerators, military applications, medical applications, propellants, and so on. And the last category, it's 2H. It was previously in 1996 guidelines on NVOC's emissions. And here we have just a generic method activity data by emission factors. So this is my last slide. And again, we try to make consistent across all sectors, energy, IPPU, AFOLU and waste. So all methods are provided, which are provided in 2006 guidelines, are implemented in the inventory software. There is a flexibility of the countries to meet national circumstances at various levels, either it's by using different tiers or by using country-specific technologies and parameters. Subnational reporting allows to traffic specific activities and emissions, and the guidebook is under preparation for industrial sector, and this guidebook indeed will help very much countries with activity data, emission factors, emissions and reporting. So thank you very much.
Oh. Now the AFOLU sector. While the IPU sector is the most methodologically complex, the AFOLU sector is the one more data intensive, you will see. Okay, the major updates also for the AFOLU sector have some similarities with the others, the subnational disaggregation. Here we have a land representation manager. The land representation is the most data intense elements of our greenhouse gas inventory. And also in this case we implemented all the higher tier methods, including in this case is very relevant the Wetlands Supplement. And I will show you some of the improvements in the worksheet structure. Subnational disaggregation in this case is just geographical. You see there is a region and then you have you input, now I show you how. In the land representation manager you input all the disaggregation, all the units of your disaggregation level in terms of subdivisions. And then you, okay, the land representation manager allow to report, to produce a consistent land representation according with the 3 IPCC approaches. Approach 1, no land use change identification. Approach 2, land use change identification. Approach 3, land use change identification and tracking of the units across time. The use of the land representation manager ensures that your land representation is consistent across time. It is based on the identification of units of land that are units that are homogeneous per physical conditions, but also for current and historical land use. You know that IPCC inventories have the 2 main subcategories, land remaining under the same use and land under conversion to a different land use. This is the land representation. It comes with 3 tabs. The first tab, you input all your regions. And for each region, you select the approach, the IPCC approach that you wish to implement. Of course, you may have a single land representation for the entire country or an infinite, almost infinite number of regions. There is a land representation table where you input the information of each unit of land. The software then carry over across time the information. So a land under conversion is kept under conversion according with the number of years that you input in the transition period. And automatically the software after 20 years transfer that units of land to the remaining category. You have one land representation tab for each region. Yes, what is very important is that because the software carry over the information, you need to start to populate your land representation from the first year, so from the oldest year onward, forward, sorry. All the information then are compiled in a land representation matrix. Here you do not input any information, but this is very relevant for inventory compiler because it's one of the elements required for the greenhouse gas inventory. Allora, higher tiers, the current version of the IPCC software implemented the stock difference approach, which is a kind of tier 3 approach, for all pools, for all categories. He has the famous formulation B for soil organic carbon stock change in mineral soils. which means that when you have a multiple conversion on the same unit of land, the calculation is done on the actual SOC level, not on the level expected at equilibrium for that type of land use. And he implements also all the elements of the wetland supplement. Since the wetland supplement is not mandatory under the Paris Agreement, all the elements of the wetland supplement are identified because they are in a lilac color. So you will now show you see very clearly what is from the wetland supplement. Allora, improvement in the worksheet structure. Again, we work at the approach. The general approach was to combine tiers in the same worksheets, the same also combination of worksheet. And you see this in the enteric fermentation, for instance, or adding additional worksheet. The stock difference approach has been implemented always as an additional worksheet for each of the carbon pool in each of the land uses. This is why the IPCC, the AFORU sector of IPCC comes with 492 worksheets. That is more than all the other sector together. Not because you need to input data in all of the 492 worksheets, but because there is a large variability here. An example, this is for instance, for enteric fermentation, the implementation in terms of keeping all the information together. You see here you may select the tier, which tier you want to then apply for the calculation. And then according with the tier, you see there are some cells are graded, because at tier 1 you need to have a very little, only two information to input, like the annual average population as well as the typical animal mass. But for tier 2 detailed, you have many other information that need to be input in the same worksheet. While for the stock difference method, this is the sample for biomass, I guess, in forest land, yes. You have a separated worksheet that deal with that. You have one for biomass here, if you see, you have also one for DOM SD, and you have also one for for some mineral soil, which is some mineral SD. Okay, this is an example of lilac, of an element that comes from the wetland supplement. The DOC flux, so the carbon transported in rivers, for instance, out from the drained land, is a new element that is in the wetland supplement. So if you wish to estimate this, you know that this is not 2006 guidelines because the color is different, and then you may or may not implement this. Or you may have an entire tab. You see some organic rewet. The entire tab comes from the wetland supplement. So you may compile it or not for a greenhouse gas inventory. I guess there should be another one. No, okay. Then this is all the mapping worksheets that I'm going to skip because it's very long and detailed. I'd only show you. This is the summary. You see these categories in lilac, those are from the wetland supplement. You don't have those in the 2006 IPCC guidelines. So according with the reporting rules under the Paris Agreement, those are not mandatory. It's not mandatory stuff. But you may compile this information and map it into the CRTs. You see the total. Where is the total? Okay, unfortunately it doesn't fit well, the screen. The total is 492 worksheets. The most of them is not a surprise for land, because in land you have 5 carbon pools, plus also then there is the harvestable product that is treated different. Okay, in summary, the summary is like the other. All methods implemented, sub-national disaggregation that provide all the flexibility to deal with national circumstances in our view. The AFORU sector guidebook is under development. Since there are 492 worksheets, you may expect that will be the last to be published because it takes more time. And the next one is the new sector.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Pasan Soren James Ranja from Technical Support Unit. So I will be talking about improvements and updates we have in the waste sector of the inventory software. So here is the major updates and improvements we have in the waste sector. So as for other sectors, we have subnational desegregation at category level, and also implements tier 3 methods of the 2006 guidelines, and the methods we have in the Wetlands Supplement. And also we have several improvements in structure and the layout of worksheets. So subnational desegregation. So subdivision functionality of the software allows estimation of emissions at subnational level. For example, methane emissions from solid waste disposal sites can be estimated by different climate region. For example, if a country has different climate regions, then decay rate in solid waste disposal sites will be different in each region. So software allows now estimate methane emissions from solid waste disposal sites by different climate regions. So here we see the worksheet for solid waste disposal category as an example. So under parameters tab, we have subdivision cell, and then by clicking here, users can define subdivisions. And then select appropriate climate region for each subdivision from the drop-down list as shown here. 2006 guidelines provide separate equation, tier 3 equation for estimation of nitrous oxide emissions from waste incineration, and this equation is implemented in the software under waste incineration category, and here we can see. Wetland Supplement also provides methods for estimation of greenhouse gas emissions from constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment, and then these methods for estimation of methane and nitrous oxide emissions are also implemented in the software. So, for example, domestic wastewater treatment under regions tab, in constructed wetlands column, users need to indicate a tick. The very constructed wetlands are used for wastewater treatment, and then information will be transferred to other worksheets for estimation of nitrous oxide and methane emissions from constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment. So just to note here is that updates, improvements in the waste sector part of the inventory software is still ongoing, so worksheet structure and the number of worksheets may change. As mentioned, several improvements we have in the structure and the layout of worksheets for waste sector. One of the example is open burning of waste category here we have. So for this category, activity data is amount of open burned. However, the activity data may not be readily available. So 2006 guidelines, considering this situation, provide guidance equation to estimate the amount of waste open burned, and then this equation can be used when country-specific data are not available. So And as we can see, here are two options available for activity, total amount of waste open burned for activity data. The first one is equation 5.7, which is in the guidelines. And then the other is a very, users can enter their national country-specific data on amount of waste open burned. So in the case, if users need to use equation 5.7 to estimate the amount of waste open burned, then they need to click edit mark here, and then this window, the worksheet will appear where you can estimate the amount of waste open burned. So this is one of the example example of improvements we have in the worksheet structure and the layout. So this the table shows the number of worksheets, total number of worksheets for waste. Here also I would like to note that the worksheet counts show number of tabs, and then tabs may have, under one tab, we may have several worksheets. So as mentioned, the number might be changed due to ongoing update in waste sector. So this is the total number. To summarize, subdivision functionality allows subnational disaggregation of emission estimates and allows flexibility based on availability of data and national circumstances. And the software now implements higher tier methods in the 2006 guidelines, and also methods we have in the Wetlands Supplement for waste sector. And improvements we have in the worksheet structure and layout provide more streamlined user interface. And as for other sectors, a guidebook for waste sector is under development. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Hanley, and I'm happy to be a part of this process with the TFI and working on interoperability with the CRT. I think the IPCC software is a very important part of the transition for countries to the enhanced transparency framework and can help countries in their reporting. So the purpose of this presentation is to talk a little bit more about interoperability. Sandro had alluded to it earlier. A little bit about the background, why we're doing it, what it means, interoperability, why you should care, why it's important, and what we're doing right now in this effort. As you know, countries will start reporting their first biennial transparency reports by the end of December 2024. This includes information on greenhouse gas inventories, tracking progress towards national targets, information on support, adaptation. What has to be reported, what must be reported, what should be reported was already decided in Katowice in 2018. This time last year in Glasgow, countries talked about the how. They decided on how information would be reported in the outline, what the BTR would look like, but also importantly, what the reporting tables would look like. So there's common reporting tables for greenhouse gas inventory, common tabular formats for tracking progress towards targets, and also common tabular formats for support. What we're talking about here with the IPCC Inventory Software and interoperability is about inventory only. Importantly, that decision in Glasgow also requested the UNFCCC to facilitate interoperability with the IPCC Inventory Software and asked us to participate in that effort. And so we're here giving an update on where we are and where we're going. So what is interoperability? It's about the exchange of information between software programs. The UNFCCC is working very hard right now to develop the electronic reporting tools for the greenhouse gas inventory. You've heard from the team here about the efforts on the IPCC Inventory Software. So what we're talking about now is the exchange of information between. And the idea broadly is that a country can work in the IPCC inventory software, as you heard from everybody, estimate their greenhouse gas emissions, produce a file that could then be uploaded into the common reporting tables, the electronic reporting tools, to help facilitate that reporting. What it looks like in practice, you saw a country first would work in the inventory software. They would identify their activity data, relevant parameters for all of the sectors, calculate the greenhouse gas emissions for that sector. But the IPCC software cannot officially submit anything to the UNFCCC. These are the common reporting tables for inventories that were agreed by parties. So the interoperability will take the information from the IPCC inventory software and it works to map it into the relevant space into the common reporting tables to help countries facilitate their reporting. So why is this important? The IPCC inventory software is a great tool for helping to estimate emissions. Sandra talked about how it can collect the activity data, the parameters, the emission factors. It can serve as an archive. It can help estimate emissions, thereby reducing errors to produce your national inventory. And it's a great tool for organizing data over time to help in the sustainability of your inventory system. But it can, there's something, but it cannot officially submit to the UNFCCC. That can only be done through the common reporting tables. So this interoperability helps countries minimize error and facilitate reporting. So exactly what are we doing right now? We are trying to do the mapping to make this link between what the parties agreed in Glasgow and what is in the inventory software. So we are working very closely with the UNFCCC on a daily basis during this conference for sure, to really do that mapping and make sure that there's agreement and understanding about where the information maps. We're looking at differences between the two pieces of software and then developing the strategies for how do you map the information from one software to the other. So some of these worksheets that you've seen from the team here today, some may be continually modified to reflect what the new interoperability will be required. Sandra had mentioned earlier that there will be updates in the coming months, and so you might see some changes due to interoperability. And at the end, we intend on publishing these kind of mapping tables that we are working on. You can see an example of one table that was agreed by parties and where the information is coming from. We plan on publishing these for transparency so that countries can really understand how it's going from one software to the other. You can see here in yellow one example that there are differences. The common reporting tables, for example, have oil and gas extraction, which is not a separate category in the IPCC software. So we're looking at strategies to do it. The software calculates those emissions, and then we just have to ensure a clear and transparent mapping so we have a complete inventory. There are a number of cases, and I won't go through these here, but there are a number of cases in the inventory software, the CRTs, where the parties have agreed to categories from the 2019 refinement, so we will update the inventory software to reflect that to ensure the transparent mapping. We have further work to do still on confidentiality for identifying how to ensure that information can remain confidential, consistent with the party decisions as well. We're looking at notation keys, and we'll work further to ensure proper use or allowing the countries to insert proper use of notation keys consistent with the UNFCCC decisions. And flexibility. Flexibility is something that will be separate for the common reporting tables. That is a provision that was for developing countries who need it, and that is discussed further in 5 CMA 3. So what are we doing? The road ahead. Right now we are striving to enable the users to use the IPCC inventory software, use and calculate emissions using all approaches, to improve the worksheets to ensure that there's consistency with the 2006 guidelines, we're actively working with the UNFCCC on this mapping effort. And the Secretariat gave a presentation last week on the status of these efforts, and as they noted, they will be working to deliver a test version of the reporting tool in June 2023, and we're working to enable some testing of some components of the interoperability in that version. Really, the best way that countries can get ready for the ETF, and this is across the board on all issues, is to really start working on it today. And we encourage you very strongly, welcome you to look at the latest version of the IPCC software, test it, provide comments. When the version comes out with interoperability, again, continue to test it and look into it. You can see the contact information there about how to find more information. But we'll continue to provide updates going forward. Thanks. Passing over to Martial.
Thank you. And this is the only spreadsheet you will see in my presentation. So I'm not like an IPCC traditional presentation full of spreadsheets. I will present what we are doing at FAO. So I'm Martial Bernaud. I'm from the Climate, Biodiversity and Environment Office. But what I will present are from different offices. One is a team Collect Earth is in the same office, but CEPAL is mostly under the Forestry Office. And we work all together trying to support also IPCC. So I will present those two tools that try to help you to fill data into IPCC and mostly on land use matrix. So the first tool is Collect Earth. So that tool, basically here you need people. You need people that will look at image. It uses public images from Google engine, from Bing, on all maps that are on images that are freely available. So basically you need people, it's a sampling strategy where people that know perfectly their land, their country, their context are able to identify the land on a different series and set of data. So you have the link every time I try to give the link of the tool where you can find those tools that are free. So it's a very brief presentation. So it's how it looks like. You can see perhaps it's a little bit more beautiful than the table, but it can help to fill the data that you need at the end in those tables. And here you have, for instance, a succession of different land use from 2000, 2004, 2015, on present, where you have, it's easy to recognize when you are a user, you know your country, what you have here, forest, equipment, and settlement. So people can easily, so it's a sampling strategy. So you need to have the most sample as possible to represent well your context. So it provides really land use change from 2000 onward on. You can go a little bit backward using a regression model. And then once you have you use Collect Earth, then you can link with the IPCC software. Sorry, I have a second table here of the IPCC software. So this is really a way to export activity data that are sometimes quite complex to obtain. The plugin will be available, so it's a plugin in Collect Earth that already existing, will be available early 2023. Most probably we're trying to have this March, April, at the maximum, but very maximum will be June. And then the other tool, so you can see here again the link to that other tool. Here it's mostly a wall-to-wall approach. So basically you use satellite imagery and you have algorithm science behind to transform what the satellite can see into the categories of IPCCs. And you need for sure also to validate your classification. But it's a different approach here, it's really comprehensive. And again, the timeline here it's 2023. Here you have a little bit of more details. Sandro, I have time? I have more 10 minutes? No, I have no 10 minutes. So No, no, I'm kidding. So this is basically, you have the different step. I will now enter into the detail because you will have the presentations thereafter, and also you can link with the team really if you need to have more understanding of the different tools. But you can see the different step, perhaps the more specific part here below. Infer data using multispectral on multi-temporal analysis of remotely sensed images that are available. Then you analyze that, and so it's a little bit what we call approach 2 or toward up to the approach 3. And then you assess and correct for bias and provide standard error for each area data. So you have not only the data but also the error, because IPCC you always need to have that aspect into account. And then you can fill the gap when you have some, because satellite is always might have all the different year. You might have for a specific place some cloud. So basically, sometimes you need to infer data. So basically, you have also to do that. So on here you have the status of the really precise collaboration on that specific plugin. So it with the Boston University, and you have even a publication that provide you in detail the algorithm that is being used to do that. Again, June 2023. So by June 2023, next year, you will have the two plugins that can help you to have those data into the informing the IPCC software that will be for sure ready and to receive those data. That will be, inshallah, available. So this is what I wanted to say. So two different but complementary approach. So you can use either one or the other. It's really depend also of your context, the size of your country, the data that are available. Sometimes it's more simple if you have teams to do like kind of mapathon, as we say, to use a collect Earth or in other countries, other contexts. You have a really full GIS team with a remote sensing team that can really provide the data and use the algorithm. So it's really depend of the context of the different countries, where they are and the teams they are. So it's two different approach. At the end, you can use both and try to see if they are hopefully going the same direction. This is what we expect, at least. So, yeah. Thanks again for the attention.
Now the floor is open for any questions or comments regarding any of the presentations that we have watched. Oh.
Thank you for the interesting presentation. I was just wondering if the new tools available in USB. It's just that we have trouble downloading it. I'm from Samoa, so we have issues downloading it. Thank you.
We used to do that in the past, but nowadays it is possible to do it while here.
This time we could not do because we received the software during the COP, so we had no time to do the copies. At Substack we expect to release again the pen drive. For the moment you may download, please, download from the website.
Thank you very much. Je m'appelle Sidati Uldah de la Mauritanie. Je rappelle le podium que je suis toujours sur ma soif pour les gaz indirects, particulièrement pour le secteur de l'énergie, où on utilise la même donnée pour le calcul des gaz directs et les gaz indirects. Ça, c'est malgré que je respecte et je félicite tout le public pour les avancées et les améliorations apportées depuis que j'ai puis contacter le groupe. J'apporte aussi une nouvelle information, c'est que la version du logiciel IPCC en français et en arabe est déjà disponible sous format de flash par pays au niveau du stand de la Mauritanie pour les pays francophones et arabes. Dans ces deux versions, celle qui vient d'expirer, c'est-à-dire le 2691, et celle qui vient de paraître, le 2.83. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. I understand French. Thank you very much. Yeah, see, the first question was about the indirect emissions. We already have the specification. The interoperability will also cover the indirect emissions. However, we are doing a marathon of development, so we have priorities. At the end, they will be there, but it will take some time. It's not so easy. Then for the translation, Sidati is translating the software and the manual in French and in Arab. We'll be very happy to look at it and possibly also to publish on our website as a support information. Of course, not IPCC source, but as a voluntary contribution to the work of IPCC, which is very welcome. Thank you very much for this.
Are there more questions or comments? There.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentations. I'm curious, will the guides that you're developing include just some kind of stepwise process guiding countries on how to do subdivisions for each category, or can maybe describe how subdivisions are handled in the guides?
Subdivision is whatever is a disaggregation from national level to something else. This disaggregation can be done according with many different variables. The more, the more banal is just regions. But you may have companies, you may have plants, you may have technologies, you may have whatever is some significant. Let's say, variables in estimating your emission. If there is a significant difference, or simply because you want to track maybe the same method, same technology, but you want to track different activities of different entities into the inventory. This is the case, for instance, for nationally determined contributions. You may wish to track in the inventory different actions in order to make more transparent your reporting. So it gives a lot of flexibility. Can be used in many different ways.
We use that moment to transmit a question we always have from countries and parties, because if you're in contact with countries, do IPCC provide training to the software?
Thank you very much for the question. So, we do not provide country dedicated training because you have seen the presentation, 3-4 people. We cannot do this. But we participate to the activity of the UNFCCC. There is a unit that does capacity building on greenhouse gas inventories. They organize regional workshops. We do participate to these regional workshops, so this is a way to do training. The guidebook that we are producing is even more important, maybe because then you have at home any days the possibility to check what I think is training, that one, because guide you into the software step by step, what is there, what is supposed to be input.
Thank you very much. But sometimes you should really be responsible by asking questions. My answer to you will be ready if AO is inviting training workshop, hosting in Italy, then we can help you. So provide some money, we can help you.
for instance, when these add-ons will be ready, would be very useful if FAO organize a series of training, regional training, because if you have everybody there, it's difficult to communicate. And we will be happy to participate, especially because it's Roma, of course.
This is why.
Hello, this is Marina from Italy. On the same issue, on training and on support on countries to use the IPCC software and the useful add-ons that are going to be developed. Are you going to provide some platform to provide online support to the users? Because I think that could be really useful. I know that you are few, but could be also a sort of user forum in order to support each other. Thank you.
Let me commit IPCC. No, I'm joking. I can here share an experience of what we are doing with the tool we have seen on other tool. And indeed, a community of practice trying to put together, and we have already a community of practice at FAO, for instance, on transparency, but it's transparency in the AFOLU sector, so it's, but we are linked with other. So, but it's let's say, low-hanging fruit. It's really, it do not cost a lot to establish a community of practice where people can be connected and share their problem experience. So perhaps this is something I would encourage my colleagues from TSU, IPCC, and UNFCC to develop, and we are ready to also to see with you how to do that, because it's proved to be very useful having people that share the same problem. So.
Okay, the good news that is UNFCC already has this. As now Dominique, so we will soon connect us with that in order to be more, but it's already there.
Yeah, just to let you know, we already have what we call a GLG help desk at UNFCCC. So you can just register. It's entirely free. We just need to create an account, and then you can post any question in any language. And if we need, we translate automatically in English. And so we share with everybody. And so that's available already. Just Google it, GLG help desk, UNFCCC. You'll find it. Yeah. Thank you.
Is there any other question or comment? We have been extremely efficient with the use of time. Well, very grateful for you to have participated during this event. I will handle for the closing remarks the floor to my fellow co-chair, Kyoto Tanabe.
Firstly, I would like to thank all of you for participating in this side event. I hope this side event was helpful to you in understanding what is the new version of the IPCC inventory software and the possible future work. As Sandro said, the new version 2.883 is now available in the IPCC TFI website, and that version needs further refinement, further polishing, and to that end, we really count on your support. So please download that software, new version, and test it. And if you find something to be collected or to be improved, please send your feedback to the technical support unit. That will be very, very helpful to our future work. And that said, I would like to close this side event. Thank you very much again. See you next time.
Oops. And be aware that we are already fixing bugs. So in 2 months you will have a new version. So we'll keep visiting our website for the updates. There will be many in the future. Thank you. problem.